Most people who think they're doing a great job at saving money are actually doing it completely wrong. Not in some metaphorical sense, literally wrong. And today I'm going to prove it with one uncomfortable number that almost no financial advisor will ever show you. Because the second you understand this number, you'll finally see why your savings account feels like it's barely moving, even though you're being responsible every month. Here's what makes the situation even worse. The entire financial industry has a massive incentive to keep you saving exactly the way you're saving right now. The confusion isn't an accident. The confusion is the product. Banks push high-yield savings accounts that pay you crumbs after inflation. They love when you set it and forget it in retirement accounts. They make you feel smart and responsible, while your purchasing power quietly erodes year after year. Let me paint the picture with real statistics. The personal savings rate in the United States is currently hovering around 4.5%. Millions of people pat themselves on the back every month because they managed to put a few $100s aside. At the same time, surveys from Bankrate show that more than half of Americans still couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency expense without borrowing money or putting it on a credit card. These two facts cannot exist together unless the majority of people are saving money the wrong way. This entire video is built around that uncomfortable truth. There is a right way to save money, and there is a dangerously wrong way that feels right. Most of you watching right now are using the wrong way, even if your banking app shows a nice upward green line every payday. My name is Lucas from Lucas Invests. Before we go any deeper, I want you to hold on to one powerful metaphor for the rest of this video. It's going to come back again and again, and it will hit especially hard toward the end. Imagine you're trying to fill up a large swimming pool using a garden hose. But this hose is full of tiny holes all along its length. You turn on the water, and you feel productive. You see water flowing. The level in the pool is slowly rising. But what you don't see is that most of the water is leaking out through those holes before it ever reaches the deep end. You're working hard, but you're losing most of your effort along the way. That is exactly what the vast majority of Americans are doing with their savings right now. You look responsible on the surface. You're saving money. You have the responsible skin on. But underneath, the real wealth-building progress is leaking away month after month, and you have no idea how big those leaks actually are. Let me introduce you to a guy I call Marcus. Marcus is 38 years old. He lives in Dallas, makes $95,000 a year as a project manager, has a solid job with decent benefits, and he genuinely believes he's doing things the right way. Every single month, Marcus automatically transfers $400 into his high-yield savings account. He also makes sure to contribute enough to his 401k to get the full company match. On paper, he's doing everything the mainstream financial advice tells you to do. He reads the articles, listens to the podcasts, and considers himself pretty good with money. But when you strip away the surface and look at the actual numbers, Marcus is leaking water from every direction. His high-yield savings account is currently earning around 4% APY. That sounds somewhat respectable in 2026 until you factor in inflation and taxes. After those two silent thieves do their work, his real return is often close to zero or even slightly negative. While that's happening, his lifestyle has been quietly creeping upward without him realizing it. He upgraded to a nicer car lease, moved into a better apartment in a more desirable neighborhood, enrolled his kids in expensive extracurricular activities, and started dining out more often because we work hard and we deserve it. Right now, Marcus's total liquid savings outside of his retirement accounts sits at roughly $9,000. That's barely enough for 2 months of his current expenses if anything unexpected hits. One serious medical bill, one major car repair, or one sudden layoff at his company, and Marcus will be forced to borrow from his 401k. Pay early withdrawal penalties, and lose years, sometimes decades, of future compounding that can never be fully recovered. Marcus is not broke. He's not reckless with money in the traditional sense. He's simply doing what millions of hardworking people do. He's saving money the wrong way. The real telltale sign that you're saving incorrectly isn't the amount you put away each month. It's what happens to that money the moment it leaves your paycheck. If it's sitting in low-return accounts that barely beat inflation, if it's being slowly consumed by lifestyle inflation, or if it's never being directed into assets that actually grow faster than the cost of living, then you're not truly saving. You're just delaying the spending. Now here's where things get really interesting. In today's economy, there are essentially two completely different philosophies of saving. The old way, the default way that 80 to 90% of people still follow, and the smart way, the way that actually moves you toward real financial independence. The old way feels safe and responsible. You put money into a savings account or a CD. You contribute to your 401k mainly for the employer match. You tell yourself and everyone around you that you're being disciplined. Banks and financial institutions absolutely love this version of you because they get to use your capital while paying you almost nothing in return. The smart way looks very different. It requires aggression on the front end and patience on the back end. First, you ruthlessly identify and plug all the leaks in your cash flow. Then, you redirect every possible extra dollar into productive assets, primarily low-cost, broad market index funds that have historically delivered 7 to 10% average annual returns over long periods. But here's the part that hurts. Transitioning from the old way to the smart way is rarely a pure math problem. It's almost entirely a behavioral and psychological problem. And human behavior is incredibly difficult to change. The moment most people receive a raise, a bonus, or any extra income, their spending quietly rises to absorb it, usually within 12 to 18 months. This isn't guesswork. It's well documented in behavioral economics. Daniel Kahneman's work on hedonic adaptation shows how quickly we adjust to new income levels and treat them as the new normal. Your social circle becomes your spending benchmark. Suddenly, the nicer car doesn't feel like a luxury. It feels necessary. The better school district or the upgraded vacation becomes what we deserve. You end up projecting the image of someone who is winning financially, while your actual underlying numbers, your real net worth growth, remain stuck at beginner level. By the way, if you're getting value from this kind of direct, no-fluff breakdown, hit subscribe right now. Otherwise, YouTube's algorithm might stop showing you videos like this in the future. Let's go back to Marcus and run some real numbers so you can see the difference clearly. If Marcus continues on his current path, transferring $400 a month into his savings account and just taking the company 401k match, his progress will be painfully slow. After 20 years, he will have accumulated a decent amount, but nothing life-changing. He will still feel financial anxiety every time an unexpected expense appears. He'll likely still be working well into his late 60s with limited options. Now let's look at the alternative path. What if Marcus gets serious about plugging the leaks? He downgrades the expensive car lease, chooses a perfectly fine but less impressive apartment, cuts back on performance dining and in used subscriptions, and redirects an additional $600 to $800 per month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund with a long-term average return of 7 to 8% after inflation. That extra money doesn't just add up linearly. It compounds powerfully over time. In 20 to 25 years, that difference can easily translate into hundreds of thousands, or even over $1 million of additional wealth. More importantly, it can mean the difference between retiring at 67 because you have to, versus having real freedom and choices in your late 50s. The return on that redirected money is not only measured in dollars. It's measured in years of your life returned to you. Years you don't have to spend chained to a job you don't love just to maintain a lifestyle that, deep down, never actually brought you lasting satisfaction. Here's the deeper truth that almost nobody in mainstream financial content wants to say out loud. The biggest mistake most people make isn't that they're not saving enough money. The biggest mistake is that they're saving it the wrong way and allowing lifestyle creep to quietly destroy the gap between what they earn and what they actually keep. The entire consumer economy is expertly engineered to make sure that every single extra dollar above your basic survival needs gets converted into someone else's revenue. Whether it's the auto industry with seductive leases, the restaurant and delivery apps, endless subscription services, or the subtle status signals that make you feel like you're falling behind if you don't upgrade. Making the shift away from this pattern doesn't initially feel like a smart financial decision. It feels like an identity decision. When Marcus imagines canceling the nice lease or moving to a more modest neighborhood, his brain doesn't calculate future compound growth. Instead, it panics and asks, "What will this say about me? How will I look to others?" That psychological resistance is very real. But here's what the research shows. The discomfort usually fades much faster than people expect. The same hedonic adaptation that made the luxury car feel normal after a few weeks will make the more practical choice feel completely normal after a short adjustment period too. And on the other side of that temporary discomfort lies something far more valuable than any new car smell: genuine financial momentum and a deep sense of control. So let's make this practical. Here's the exact framework you can start using this month to stop saving the wrong way. Step 1. Build a real emergency runway. Minimum 3 to 6 months of your actual living expenses sitting in easily accessible cash or near cash. Until this foundation exists, almost nothing else matters. Step 2. Automate the wealth gap aggressively. Every single raise, bonus, tax refund, or extra dollar of income, at least 50% of it should be automatically transferred to investments on the day it hits your account, before your lifestyle even has a chance to touch it. Step 3. Separate the concepts of saving and investing in your mind. Savings is defensive. It's for emergencies and short-term needs. Investing is offensive. It's for building real wealth. Keeping long-term money in accounts that earn less than inflation is not responsible saving. It's slow-motion wealth destruction wearing a responsible-looking label. Marcus is approaching a critical fork in the road in the next few years. He can continue doing what feels responsible, keeping the leaks in his hose and watching most of his effort disappear, or he can make one decisive, slightly uncomfortable shift and finally start directing his money the smart way. Unfortunately, most people never make that shift, not because they lack intelligence or discipline, but because the old way feels safer, more familiar, and more socially acceptable. The real goal isn't simply to save more money each month. The real goal is to stop leaking it to things that don't matter in the long run. If you want a clear, step-by-step checklist I personally use to audit whether someone is saving the right way or unknowingly wasting their effort, I've put one together. You can find the link in the description. Hit subscribe if you want more honest, in-depth videos that cut through the noise and show you what actually moves the needle with your money. Because the way you've been saving money up until now, it's probably not building the secure and free future you imagine it is. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.